hair is very important. To me and my family, we are a family of long-haired girls, and so that to us is kind of like our power. And I have a younger sister, and we just have laughed over the years. We'd always cut it shorter, but we'd always be growing it out. It's always the process, and we've always said that, you know, when we cut our hair too short, we're like Samson with Samson and Delilah, that we lose our power. My sister says she loses all her tact, and I just feel like I lose all my girl power, you know. Years ago, I had a gal that we were friends with from my mom's church who had the beautiful long hair, and I probably was like 13 or 14. And she cut my hair into like the full-on bi-level back in the early 80s. So I had like the long hair in the back, and here I have my chubby cheeks, you know, and cut it like right over my ear. I was devastated. No, it was bad, like crying on the way out. Oh, it looks so good. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do yours that way, right? So to me, I don't know, it's a big deal.
My mother has been in mild crisis since she got her hair cut so short. She was trying to grow her hair long, and her hair just like isn't wanting to do that now. It's really like pretty fine, and it kind of gets fuzzy at the ends, and like it really like she looks real sharp with it cut really crisp and, you know, really short. She went and got it cut really short by this guy who's like some special hair designer or whatever, and she's called me at least 5 times since then, and kind of mini crisis. She's like, oh, so and so complimented me, the pool guy, he said I like your new haircut, but I was, you know, your father, I don't know, he didn't claim to not notice it, but I think maybe he doesn't like it, maybe it's too short, maybe people will think I look really weird. What if people think I look weird? Okay, bye. And that was on my voicemail.
But to like pick up the clippers and like cut your hair is that's a much bolder statement. And you know, some people would look at me and kind of go, "Oh, it's nice." You could tell there was a whole other conversation going on in their head. I can still remember going into I didn't even go to salons. I mean, if you're going to use clippers, you don't go to a salon. I would go to the beauty school and ask for, you know, the one guard, and they'd be like, "Oh, you don't mean the one guard." Well, they know really. It's okay, my hair grows fast, this is really long, this is like 4 weeks worth of growth, and they're like, no, not the one guard. They're like, no, really, the one guard and dial it down. And they would still like dial it up, because it has this little adjuster thing on it, so you can like kind of make it a, you know, it changes the slope or something, I don't know, I'm not a hairdresser. But they would still dial it up, and I'd be like, no, dial it down.
Why do you think they would?
I think they thought I didn't know what I wanted. Because I am a girl, and I should not want what basically equates to a military high and tight.
It's the first thing that we see when we walk up to somebody. It's not the color of their eyes, it's not the color of their skin.
Yeah.
It's, I think subconsciously, it's hair.
Yes.
One of the first things I notice about the girl is their hair. You know, some people say their eyes and this, but it's the hair.
Whatever mood I'm in is how I wear my hair.
Hair tells a lot about a person. It's kind of like an identity, like your hair makes you who you are.
What about identity? That is my hair, though.
Really?
Yeah, that really is my hair. I mean, I'm from down south in California, so when I'm down south, especially as I've gotten older, I mean, I've lived in Southern California, Northern California, for me, just long hair. That's always the way that it is. So it is part of my identity. So when I cut it short, it's just like, I'm not me. I mean, really not me. Or people will come up, oh, you cut off your crown and glory, or whatever. Yeah, I've literally had people tell me that. I'm like, so I guess that kind of has an impact.
I remember the drama teacher at my high school, and her reaction when I first cut my hair. She said something about how, asked me when I was planning on growing it back, and told me that in the religion that she grew up in, a woman's hair is her crown. She told me that very seriously.
It's taken me about 4 years to get it back to the length it was before I cut it. I cut it really short before I went to New York, and not a day went by where I didn't think about my hair and how much I regretted cutting it.
Really?
Yeah. You'd be walking to a club and the girl with the longer hair will get looked at, I felt, more than I did with my short hair.
interested in showing the world who they are. Some people are more interested in showing that they are part of a group than as an individual, but I think most of us, especially in America, want to be seen as the individual, and it's the easiest thing to change other than our, our clothes. We can't change our eye color as easily, can't change our skin color as easily, but we can change our hair every day of the week, and so people use it to send a message about who they are.
I come from the South, and so the higher the hair, the closer to God. Teased. You do something to your hair and you set it, and it's supposed to be that way for a day or up to a week.
And I always wanted to be that old lady with a really long braid. You know how the grandmas had their hairs in a figure eight with the bobby pins? That's my dream.
I've always been like a hair guy too, though. Like when I was in high school, like I always had the coolest hair. I was like, I spent a lot of time with hair, and so I was always very aware of hair as it stood, anyways.
When I was in college, David Bowie was popular, and I got my hair cut really short on top and a couple frips, just flowy down here. And I felt so masculine that I started wearing eye makeup for a while, just because I went, oh my God, what have I done? And then I went, you cut your hair and it looks really good, so get over it. But it was funny how I even got hooked into...
It made you question your femininity.
Exactly.
I really like my hair. I think it's my best feature.
My best feature, for sure. Definitely sure.
What would you do if tomorrow you woke up and your hair fell out?
Oh my God.
I'll buy a wig.
What would you do?
I would cry and cry and cry. And I would probably never go outside again.
What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and your hair fell out?
I would probably stay home and cry all day.
Do you think you would eventually cover it up with something?
Yeah, I do. I think I would feel really vulnerable.
I would probably have a good long cry, and then I would get up and go to work. I have quite a collection of wigs, so I'd probably start wearing some really funky wigs.
Considering my current position, I wouldn't be too scared or too freaked out. My current position is I'm paralyzed from my neck down, so hair loss, it wouldn't be a big thing to me right now. But I think I would be shocked at first, and it would be something that I would come to live with in the end.
Ooh, I hope I'd have a sexy bald head. And I might tattoo it, I don't know.
Do you think you would cover it?
I'd probably shop some wigs, maybe try to sport some bandanas. I'd like to think I'd have flair about it.
I would grieve heavily, and I would have to face my own vanity.
No, I think I'm a strong enough person to rock a shaved head.
I think I would probably be completely discombobulated, like, obviously at a loss, and then the panic. The panic.
My hair might say thanks for letting it just do its own thing and come out and be and exist. And I think that's kind of why I let it grow too, because it's kind of a statement to myself, like don't hold things back. Yeah, you grew up a certain way, a certain rigid way, or a certain, any type of way, but naturally inside, if you just let things grow, who knows how it'll come out, who knows how it'll blossom, or flower, or grow.
All of us do profiling, or whatever you want to call it. When we meet someone, we look at their color, their hair, their piercings, their tattoos, their clothing, and make assumptions. Think we know their story. And I do it. I know I do it myself, and I have people do it to me. And so I think that people can choose. There's a lot about who I am that no one knows until I choose to tell them. There's a lot about who I am that no one knows until I choose to tell them.
I had been dyeing it for a long time to make it thicker, And then I started using extensions to make it thicker when dyeing didn't work. And then I used the spray and powder hair that everybody makes jokes about on infomercials. And then I had my appointment with the hair replacement specialist when my hairstylist couldn't work with it anymore because it was just getting too thin and the extensions just had nowhere to extend from. And I remember sitting there and she looked at my hair and said, you know, these extensions have to go and you have to get a wig. And I bargained with her. You know, I said, I was reaching. I said, well, what about hair transplants? Can I go down to this place and get hair transplants? Can I do this? Can I do this? What about this cream and this? And basically she said, you know, you don't have enough to do transplants. You don't have enough hair. Your options are a full hair piece or, you know, to shave it. And so I can't remember if we ordered the hairpiece that day, but that was the next step. And so I was driving home, or rather driving to Fred Meyer, and I started thinking about it. And at first, you know, when I was there, I held it together pretty well. And I was driving to Fred Meyer, and I kept thinking, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It is just hair. What's the big deal? It doesn't matter. It's just hair. It's just hair. And then I pull into the Fred Meyer parking lot and I just start bursting into tears and I just start bawling and bawling. And I think, it does matter, it does matter. And then I thought, pull yourself together. Pull yourself together, you have to go inside the store. So that was the first day that I found out I would be wearing no wig.
The hairpiece, I don't know, it feels unsatisfied. It feels embarrassed. It feels like shame, and I guess I would feel false. I would feel like I wasn't trying to accept things or wanting to be myself. Accept myself.
I've never lost my hair, but I'm afraid I will. Think of all those guys who, like, how much time they must spend looking in the mirror and, like, you know, picking away at their hair and what's left of their hair, and they do it in silence. They don't talk about going bald.
It wasn't until one day somebody was videotaping and I was running and playing in the yard, and we all went back in to watch, and I kept seeing this guy that I didn't know in the yard running around with this big bald spot in the neck, and I had no clue who it was, and I asked everybody, who's that guy that's in our yard? And they said, well, that's you. And I said, oh great, it's begun. And I was about 24 when that started, and it went pretty quick after that. It was within about 6 months I was almost totally bald.
But I got home and I looked at it for real, you know, truth in my eyes about how it really looked, and I was really upset. I felt like crying, to be honest. It was emotionally upsetting, and I didn't really understand that, except that it made me look so different. Like all of a sudden I looked one way, and then now I'm trying to get comfortable, I guess, with now the new way I live.
I think what bothered me the most is that people made assumptions looking at me with my scarves and my hats. They thought they knew my story. They thought, oh, you must be a cancer patient. And sometimes I just wanted to be, I didn't want to talk about cancer. I didn't want to be, that didn't want to be my identities.
Hair is a cultural relic, I guess. You know, we go to get our hair cut, and we have that social experience with the person cutting our hair, and we talk about our hair with our friends. We figure out what we're going to do to our hair when we're going to go out, and you know, in some particular cultures, hair is a really big deal. Whether it's, you know, you grow your hair really long and you never cut it, or there's a lot of ritual around how it's styled or things like that. I think that it plays a big role in our culture in that way.
Because I'm losing my hair, I try not to make that a central part of my persona. So I'm trying to make it so my hair says less and less about me, and I'm trying to bring myself to a place where, you know, where how my hair looks doesn't matter to me as much.
Do you identify as a bald man?
You know, when we're walking around in our own skin, looking out, how we view ourselves and how we really are often two very different things. No, I don't view myself as a bald man.
When you broke up with your ex-partner, you cut your hair off. Why do a lot of women do that? Why do you think they do?
I think it's just starting fresh, and it's like a new you. It's like closing one door and opening another, and in a way, it's just maybe even just a memory lives in your cells. So maybe the getting rid of all that memory, just starting new, a clean slate.
If I didn't have hair, like if I was completely bald and ugly and I was like a boy, but since I have hair, I look beautiful.
And I decided that I needed to get away in order to become who I am. And so I went to Belgium, and the first thing that I did was went to a hairdresser.
And they said, but a second chemo treatment, it will fall out, and sure enough, it did. I honestly can't remember now if I actually went and had my head shaved. I don't think I did. I think it all just fell out on its own. And then I wore scarves or hats. I did get a wig, but it wasn't very comfortable. So it was something that I remember at a coworker that really wanted to pull off my scarf and look at my bald head, and I was very embarrassed and very upset that she tried that. It was something very private that even in my house, it was in the middle of winter also, so it was cold all the time. So it wasn't like I was walking around with a bald head even in my household. I was keeping it covered because it was embarrassing to have for me. But I don't know if it was so much the baldness. I have a bump on the top of my head, and I think I was more embarrassed by that than the baldness.
I think in this society, hair can be just like judging someone by their cover.
My best friend John Hall passed away in Afghanistan, and I felt it necessary spiritually to cut off the dreadlocks that I had grown out. Sort of a celebration of death, whereas growing out your dreadlocks is sort of a celebration of life.
Losing my hair was very challenging to my identity. Again, I see it as I saw my hair at the time as a statement of my virility and manhood, and then to see that slowly disappear, it does affect you in a way. You try to compensate for that.
You're touching people when you're doing hair, and so you disarm them really quickly because we don't generally enter each other's personal space in day-to-day life, and so as soon as you start touching somebody, they're already letting their guard down.
When I started going through the kind of coming out experience, as I had it anyways, and I was in my 20s, it was a gradual process of cutting my hair from long to a bob, and from bob to a shorter bob, and from shorter bob to a aggressively short yet still feminine, to basically picking up a set of clippers and just, you know, shaving off the back part of my hair, because then I could still have a little ponytail to I could cover it during the day and put it in a ponytail when I played soccer. To just going full on, like one guard shaved up the back, around the sides, and, you know, finger length on top, and that was the kind of screaming roar coming out of the closet time.
The hair is an integral feature of how we recognize a person, much in the same way that eyeglasses are an integral way that we recognize some people.
I started getting gray hair in my 20s, and so I've been dyeing my hair since my 20s. And then in my early 40s, I decided I was tired of dyeing my hair. So I let it go gray. In some ways, maybe gray has really always been the color of my hair. That's always been who I am and my true color.
It's the Samson syndrome where the hair is kind of the key to your masculinity. Women seem to be more attracted to a man with a good set of locks of hair, as maybe not so much to a guy with the Picard look. Though he did bring back bald, I'll tell you that. Thank you, Jean-Luc Picard, for making bald sexy once again.
My husband hates it when I cut my hair short. He really hates it. He is not afraid to let me know. And he just says it's just not you, which is so funny because to me, I am a short hair person. Even though I have long hair now, that's not who, in my mind's eye, I see. I see someone with short hair. And it's so funny that to him, you know, my identity is long hair.
You know, as a woman, losing your hair is huge, and it makes you feel like less of a woman. It makes you feel unattractive, and it makes you feel undesirable, and definitely makes you feel not sexy. And so dating and being with someone new is terrifying. It's terrifying. What are they going to say when they find out? What if they're not attracted to me when the wig comes off? Because, you know, I can't keep it on forever. It's not attached to my head. It's going to come off at some point, and they're going to see it at some point. And the fear of that, not just that rejection, but maybe that judgment, maybe that validation that there is something wrong, that you are unattractive, that you are undesirable. I can't look at you the same without it. That's a big fear. And, you know, my friends are like, you wouldn't want to be with someone who that would matter to. And that's true, but it matters. And attraction matters. You know, and hopefully something like that wouldn't change someone's mind, but that was the fear. That was the fear.
Hair.
Hair was just coming out in clumps on the back of my head.
Hair is attitude.
They talk about it like it's a person. I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know it could behave that way. You know, it's kind of funny.
Would you say that hair matters?
I think yes. I think it does.
Oh, hair matters big time.
It matters how it looks and what color it is and the way it goes up, the way it goes down, the way it curls, the way it doesn't. It matters.
Does hair matter?
Absolutely. You know, it goes back to that whole perception is reality. And should it matter? No. Does it matter? Yes. People, you know, judge you upon looking. They don't even wait to hear you speak. They judge you upon looking. And they will decide, you know, she's gay, he's homeless, any number of things just based on a first appearance. And you know, should it matter? No. But does it? I don't know. Even now as I talk about it, I'm kind of like, does it matter? Does it really matter? I don't know. It's just hair.
Hair is dead skin cells, right? So, I mean, if you think about it like that, it's dead. It shouldn't really matter. But I mean, I think it's so important because it just makes each of us look the way that we are.
Yeah.
It's a unique characteristic for every human being.
Yeah.
Whether they have no hair, some hair, balding hair, really. I mean, it just kind of, it doesn't define us who we are, but it certainly categorizes us and helps us define ourselves, I think.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of ads in the paper, and there's plenty of people telling you you're supposed to worry about your hair, but I think in reality, you know, on the grand scheme of things, hair is not as important as at least the shampoo manufacturers or the, you know, whatever people want us to think about it. But I also can see where if I never had hair again, I might have a different opinion on it. You know, I have my hair back now. It may not be as great as I like it, but I have it back. And, you know, so that makes it maybe easier to have those, you know, thoughts that it's okay, that hair isn't that important because I have it. But if I didn't have it, maybe I'd feel different about it.
I would say that hair shouldn't matter.
But does it?
Yeah, it does.
Do you think that hair matters?
I do. I think it's really important.
Why?
Because it shows character of a person. And maybe a phase of their life. What they're going through. Whether it's chopping their hair off, or growing it long, or dyeing it pink, or whatever. Or having an interesting cut, or, you know, it's
part of it. It's an exterior piece of someone's feeling inside.
I don't think it really matters, no. I think it's just kind of an addition. It's not a necessity.
It's an accessory.
Yeah.
Yeah, hair matters.
Why?
I think that it's an anchor for someone's style and for a piece of your identity. And I think that hair matters in the way that not making a decision is making a decision to not decide. You know, it's like even if you don't have any, it's still the state of the stuff that's on top of your head, whether it is tons and tons of like fluffy curls or totally bald or, you know, whatever. I think that it matters, and I think that it plays a big part in how we interact in our society. And but that said, I don't think that it matters whether somebody has long hair or no hair. I think that them knowing what they have matters. I think that it affects how we interact with each other.
Do you think hair matters?
Yeah, I think it depends who you are.
Like some people look right with little short hair, but then others, like if they didn't have their hair, they'd be a complete different person. So it matters to some people.
I think it would be a different person. They would just look different.
Yeah, but they just look different. But I would think some people would be like different.
I mean, it seems to be an important thing in our society. Otherwise, they wouldn't call it hair loss or hair whatever if it wasn't, because there is some stigma.
Should it be an important thing?
No, but neither should if you have one arm or two arms or whatever, but it is.
So does hair matter?
It matters to me. It does. Maybe the politically correct answer would just say it doesn't matter. When I wanted to go gray, my thought was I have a pretty small head. And so I wanted to do the Sinead O'Connor thing and shave my head. And then it doesn't have that awful kind of line of gray growing in. And so I was going to shave my head and just have it go gray, come in gray. Except that I was worried that I would appear as if I had cancer or I was like a skinhead or something. Although I don't think people would have thought that with my age, but more that it would have, I think, triggered some people to think that I had cancer. So I talked myself out of that. But I thought that would have been a real test for me to see if hair mattered or not. Could I go bald or just have a little bit of hair? So I never really got to test the theory. So all I have is just what I've always felt sort of untested, which is, yeah, my hair matters. It does matter.
Does hair matter? Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Why?
Because we've made it important. Because we have it. Because it's just something to look at, to brush, to feel, to shave, to do all that stuff. Yeah, it is important. Some people have a whole bunch of it, and we talk about that, and some people don't have any at all, and we talk about that. If it wasn't important, we wouldn't talk about it.
Does hair matter? I want to say that it shouldn't. However, I think that it definitely does. I mean, you look at I think women look at men and they see, short, fat, bald guy is something like they want the, tall, dark, and handsome with, thick black hair. It's something that, is talked about. Most of your models and stuff like that, you see male and female have beautiful hair. So yeah, definitely. But I mean, there's a lot more to it. I don't think it needs to be something that's built up as maybe it is. Once you're past the initial attraction, the hair isn't really an issue anymore.
Does hair matter? The older I get, no. I don't think it does. But know, I see my mom and she's losing her hair and she keeps having to dye it because it's going gray. And I'm like, no, you should just let it go silver. Be a silver fox. And she's not ready to do that quite yet. So, yeah, hair does matter.
It's kind of funny. I never thought about hair that much until I became a hairstylist. It, you know, happened all of a sudden. And coming from that background where hair didn't figure that much to me, it was amazing to me to find out how it mattered to everyone else, and now how much it matters to me. You know, it's totally changed. A couple, maybe 6 months ago, I was blow drying my hair and I saw this completely smooth bald spot about the size of a silver dollar, and I was amazed because I've never felt that my hair defines me or that I'm attached to it that much. And I was amazed. I was almost in tears because I was thinking my hair was going to start falling out, because I actually knew a woman that happened to. It started behind her ear and then she lost all her hair. And it's just kind of funny, you know, how much hair matters.
If you ever want to know what is important to our identity, you always just look to the mythology of your culture, whatever culture it is. And, you know, we have Samson and the whole Christian mythology of, you know, the stories of Samson, and you could really go on and on and on. But then in even earlier, like pre-Christian Greek mythology and Roman theology, I mean, characters like Medusa and people whose hair had extraordinary, like, you know, powers, and there's always a sexual component to it. And so, yeah, I mean, even if I didn't have the slightest idea how it translated into our kind of contemporary ethos and times, just the preponderance of stories where hair is a factor in our mythology tells us that hair is a really big deal.
There's a lot about who I am that no one knows until I choose to tell them.
You know, as a woman, losing your hair is huge, and it makes you feel like less of a woman. It makes you feel unattractive, and it makes you feel undesirable, and definitely makes you feel not sexy. And so dating and being with someone new is terrifying. It's terrifying.
Does hair matter?
Does hair matter?
Does hair matter?
Does it matter?